Hey Aquarius Sun and Rising, welcome to your May 2021 Astro Update. It's Rena here. Well, one thing I can tell you is with all this Gemini energy, this is going to be really compatible with what you're all about because you're an air sign, Gemini's an air sign. So we're talking about a lot of trining going on. There's a whole lot of trining going on. Isn't that a song? Oh, yeah. I think I'm confusing that with Jerry Lee Lewis. Whole lot of shaking going on. And actually, I just looked up Jerry Lee Lewis. I wanted to see, like, how old he was because some of these people, they're so, like, they're like the beginning, the pioneers of rock and roll. And he was born in 1935. So, I mean, this is just amazing that this man is still doing his thing. So anyway, as the month begins, the sun and a couple of other planets, Mercury and Venus, are in Taurus. Now, Taurus is a fixed sign like Aquarius. So we're talking about these planets in an angular house because Taurus is after you. We're talking about the fourth house of home and family. So something is going on with the home front. It could be that you're selling a house. It could be like your mom is the fourth house. We could just say your parents in general, but real estate matters, and Mercury here is definitely about something that is like a contract or, some kind of paperwork that could be going on with that. So if you're buying a house or selling a house and Venus is money, moolah, so that can be, also what is, front and center in your world in May, at the beginning of May, because, Venus can bring money to whatever house that she enters. And so in this house, that certainly can be the case. Anything domestic, of course, you could be like trying to beautify your home. Of course, Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. So in the fourth house, your home may get like a makeover or something, maybe buying new furniture that's nice or whatever. And even with on the love front, if you are, let's say you're visiting your hometown, because the fourth house can be your childhood, maybe your homeland if you currently live somewhere else, and you're going back there and you fall in love with someone from your old neighborhood or your homeland or something like that, maybe somebody that you knew from childhood. All of those things could be in play because it's like the past and that sort of thing. You may just be having harmony with your parents or things like that. And with Mercury talking to your mother, talking to your family. And then on the 3rd, Mercury goes into Gemini, and that's your 5th house. On the 8th, Venus goes into Gemini. So the 5th house is the house of love. It's the house of pleasure. So anything that you find pleasurable, and what they talk about are hobbies and sports, sporting events, if you like to go and watch sports. I always joke that I have like these thoughts that come into my head, and I never know if it's me thinking it or if I have like a kind of a smart alecky spirit guide or something. But right when I said watching sporting events, something in my head said watching paint dry, because that's how I would look at it, I think. But things that are pastimes, are amusements, our 5th house, and creativity is 5th house, but love, that's a big one. So Mercury in the 5th can be somebody who's talking to someone. You know how they say that these days, I'm talking to someone. Sometimes I wonder if they're doing more than talking. I think that they are. But by the way, 5th house can be recreational sex, so there you go. but you know, it's a love house. So, you know, if you're infatuated by somebody and you're communicating with them, if you are artistic, there might be a literary connection there. And when Venus goes there on the 8th, certainly that could have a romantic, you know, connotation, but also maybe art appreciation, if that's something that you love to do, where you are going to galleries and you're just, or going to the theater. And, you know, as things start to open up in different parts of the world, that's more likely. I'm sure, like last year when I was doing these transits, it was a little bit, you know, good luck with that. But now it might be a little bit more likely. Mars is in Cancer all month long. So very interesting, because Cancer is the ruler of the 4th house of home and family, but in your chart, it's in a different place. But, you know, we still can make those connections with that Cancer energy front and center. So the home front energy. And for all people, when Mars is in Cancer, they may be feeling, you know, more defensive emotionally. They may feel more protective of their loved ones and more sentimental and things like that. But for you, this is in the 6th house. I was just kind of like, my mind was trying to figure that out. So Mars in the 6th house can have different possibilities. The 6th house is your health. So you may decide to do something that is physical to improve your health. So, you know, Mars is very athletic and physical. Having that energy in the 5th house, which can be sports, can certainly be a connection with that, because you may decide to do some kind of sport, but the real reason is because you're trying to better yourself physically. So, you know, running, anything that's vigorous, especially, you know, that could be Mars in the 6th house. Now, if it's more challenging, it could be like fighting with coworkers, having some kind of conflict in the office, maybe, or, you know, if you're not technically in the office, and if they want you to go into the office, you may be like, no, I want to stay at home. Because again, you know, with the energy in the 4th house, at least at the beginning of the month, you may be just feeling that sense of connection. And this is not necessarily how Aquarians, I think, feel overall. You're not the kind of people to be like homebodies. But, you know, it is what it is, because we've had such a situation that occurred in 2020 that turned everything upside down. So even Aquarians might notice that a lot of things have changed for them. And if you were somebody that prior to the shutdown was gone a lot because of your job and just in general, that you're very social and always doing things, you may have found a, you know, some kind of like desire to be more at home. And you may fall in love with the idea of working from home. So you may not want to give that up, and there might be a conflict in that sense. But there was something else I wanted to say about the 4th house, and that is, you know, Uranus is in Taurus, and Uranus is your ruler. So that's another important aspect of this, is that with Uranus being in your 4th house, the home becomes a place that is unpredictable, where things can suddenly change. And so sometimes what happens is that a person who has that transit of Uranus in the 4th house, they may, you know, be like, let's say you buy a property, you may find that you have to move a year or two after that when you weren't expecting to. So it's not something, in other words, there's kind of like this touch and go, erratic surprises, unexpected things popping up related to your home front. So, all of that can be, factored into that. On the 11th, there's a new moon at 21 degrees of Taurus. And again, fixed energy, fourth house, some new developments with the home front. But again, did I say but again twice? This can also be with your family of origin. And a new moon can be a new day, a new way of relating to them. And, I've said this about new moons in the seventh house, that it can be a divorce, instead of a marriage. So when I say a new moon in the fourth house, if you've had any kind of problems with family of origin, you may take the tactic of kind of separating or distancing yourself from them. So it's not necessarily that you're going to be more involved. It could simply be that you see things in a new light, and you're kind of like, and that's also about your childhood too. You may draw those connections. On the 13th, but one thing to say, that could be like if you're moving into a new home too. If you're buying a new home, things might work out. This is a tale of 2 months, because the second half of the month, there's an eclipse and there's retrogrades. And so the first half of the month, if you're buying property or launching something, it's much more straightforward. On the 13th, Jupiter goes into Pisces. Now, Jupiter has been in Aquarius since December. It just seems like yesterday that it went into Aquarius, doesn't it? I can't believe that it has been so long. It's been like 5 months. This is crazy. Well, actually, as I record this, the end of April, it's been like 4.5 months, but almost 5 months. No, probably like a little bit over 4 months. But still, 4 months is nothing to sneeze at. So Jupiter in Pisces is going to be just like a temporary thing for a few months. And Jupiter is actually going to retrograde back into Aquarius. It's going to start the retrograde on June 22nd, or no, actually June 20th, on the summer solstice. But it's not going into Aquarius until after that. And I believe it goes direct in October. And so it is going to go back into Aquarius, and it's going to, after it goes back into Aquarius, it will stay there until December, and at the very end of December, go back into Pisces for good, for the transits in that sign in 2022. So you're going to see it in 2022 straight through, I think. I don't know when it goes into Aries. But the point being that for you, this is your second house of earned income. So that's really nice. So you can get a little bit of this hit and this good juju of Jupiter in this financial area. So your finances can expand. You might have a lucky break about something that you're trying to, bring about. So definitely this can be something that enhances, expands your finances. Either, you make more money with your current job, or you have another source of income, like another income stream. And all of that, it's all good, right? This can also be great for your self-esteem. Some Aquarians may have felt that their self-esteem took a beating of sorts because, not too long ago, you had Saturn in the 12th house when it was going through Capricorn. And that might have brought up some old ghosts for you. And also, I mean, actually, to be honest, you still have Pluto there. So that can be like, I'm not saying that it can directly relate to you feeling bad about yourself in your current identity, like as in this lifetime. But the 12th house is a karmic house. And so the ghosts from other lifetimes might be haunting you, let's say. And this can give you a lot, a boost to your self-esteem too. On the 20th, the sun goes into Gemini. So the sun is in that 5th house. Now the sun rules the 5th house. And that means that it's really aligned with what that energy represents. And you might just be like, hey, I want to have fun right now. I want to just enjoy myself. So that might be something for the next 30 days. You might be enjoying going to more parties, concerts, maybe just anything that you like to do in your spare time. You may just be like, hey, bring it on. I want to enjoy myself. On the 23rd, Saturn goes retrograde at 13 degrees of Aquarius. So this is another thing that may bring some more positive energy into your life because, yeah, I didn't even think about this. Actually, I was talking about the 12th house. All I have to do is look at the first house because the first house is your conscious sense of self. And when Saturn is there, you're getting very strict about that and maybe very self-critical, wanting to change your life, better yourself and all that. And so being more ambitious about setting new foundations in your life. But sometimes that can lead to being a little bit too kind of exacting with yourself. And Saturn retrograding may ease that up a little bit. And in that process of easing it up, you relax into what you have put forth so far. And maybe like if there is something else that you want to do, you can do that. But there's it's coming from less of an outer push and more of an inner review. An example would be, let's say that you are, I'm just looking at it like from the physical, since you have Mars in the 6th house, what if you have been trying to sculpt your body or just even get in shape. Let's just say get in shape. And you have been kind of doing that, but perhaps you've been too hard on yourself, or it's been kind of hard to keep it up. And so you're kind of easing up a little bit, but by the same token, that frees you up to find other ways of doing things. Like, for instance, some people they want to lose weight, or they want to get toned and things like that. So what do? The most vigorous exercises they can think of. And, especially as you get older, your joints may not appreciate that. And maybe you get an injury, and I'm not talking about a major injury, but you can feel that it's not good for you. And then you kind of ease up on that. And you just do something like yoga, and you just are more gradual about it, things like that, because Saturn can be very stern, severe, and, not having any kind of sympathy for what the person is going through. But we all have, we should treat ourselves rather tenderly. and especially if you're trying to do something for your physical self. But I'm just using that as an example because that's what the first house can be, is about your body, but it could also be like other things that you're trying to accomplish. But maybe, because Saturn is very ambitious, maybe you're just pushing yourself too hard and you have to let up a little bit. And then paradoxically or ironically, you may have more success by letting up. Some people have found that, who work for themselves have found, or even, with the shutdown and have worked from home, that they get more done in fewer hours than when they were in an office, or when they were, whatever, they were working longer hours. That you can sometimes, really hone in on what you need to do and be more efficient. And so things like that. On the 26th, there is a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. And it is at a very early degree of Sag. And the reason that is important is that although I am not going to attempt to, say, okay, if you're an early, middle, or late degree, whatever, I tried that, but it's too confusing for me. I don't have that type of mind. I will say that because these are unequal house systems, and so like for your rising sign, I mean, I wouldn't try to predict. But if you're an early degree Aquarius, this may likely fall in your 11th house, which is the house that you rule in the universal chart. And then the rest of you, this could actually be in your career sector, which would be really cool. Because this would, and the thinking of that, or the logic of that, is that this is almost in Scorpio, because it's such an early degree of Sag. So since Scorpio is another fixed sign, and right before Sag, this would be the 10th house. For those of you who have it in the 10th house, and this may be the majority of you, this can affect your career in a very dramatic way. Lunar eclipses are very powerful full moons, so it can bring you notice. It can bring you recognition. You might get a great promotion. You might leave a profession. You might retire. I had this, I said this to somebody else, and it probably was, probably Pisces. But these kinds of things can definitely be good if you have been holding on to something that you need to let go of. Because you may fear letting go, but it might be the best thing for you. For the rest of you, where this is falling in the 11th house, this can be something to do with your, like a shakeup in your relationships with groups and friends. And there can be this is also the area of your hopes and wishes. So this may be the harvest of something that you want to, when you have put into motion, of something that you have wanted to manifest in terms of long-range goals. So you may realize some of those goals at this time. And this time, I shouldn't say, the official date of the eclipse is May 26th, but how you, when that happens for you, that can be like a period of within several months, maybe a month before, several months after, something like that. I like the idea of 40 days. For some reason, that resonated with me when I heard another astrologer talking about it. On the 29th, Mercury goes retrograde at 24 degrees of Gemini, so in that 5th house. You may hear from an old lover. Anybody who has a Mercury retrograde, anybody can hear from a lover, but if you have it in either the 5th or the 7th houses, then definitely that could be the case. But rethinking, something. Now that could be like a relationship for sure, but even any kind of this is a great time if you're a writer to edit your work, because that can be to revise your writing and things like that. If you have been wanting to launch a business, I mean, during a Mercury retrograde, if you've, I mentioned before that an astrologer that I followed on YouTube, who hasn't posted in a long time, so I hope he's okay. He launched his website during a Mercury retrograde, and I always wanted to ask him why he did that. That would seem to be like counterintuitive, but I think that, we all have individual charts, as well as some people just buck the odds, even astrologers, and they may say, you know what, I don't care. I'm not going to worry about that, or I'm going to tempt fate. And so in any case, you may be redoing something that is connected to a business launch, if you've already launched or anything like that, because the fifth house can be the business that you own. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, Aquarius. If you would like a personal reading, I have been promoting my double readings. I sometimes I've been doing mostly the deep dive readings now that I have offered this. I think I've offered this for several months now, and the reason that I am promoting this, not only because it's a relatively new reading of mine, but I really find that when I'm doing it, I feel like this is the best format for me to do natal chart interpretations in addition with the transits. When I combine them as one reading, yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't, it's half the time. These are 2 1-hour readings in each area, transits and interpretation, for a special price. It's like $30 off what you would pay if you bought them individually. So you can check out the deep dive reading and the other types of readings I offer if you're interested. I hope you have a great month of May. Take care of yourselves. Bye.